I'm still working on it.
Yeah, we all need to follow you.
What about you, Stephanie?
I had a big birthday this year.
Very outspoken, very passionate about the things.
Why do we need this again?
I'm trying to understand. It makes no sense to me. But I'm not a Brit, so I can't.
Hey guys, it's your girl Basia, and welcome to Ask Basia video podcast. Today we're discussing something really important to me, the importance of building confidence in a young woman. And I'm so excited because I'm joined by two amazing queens. We're joined by our regular commentator, Miss Leslie Ann Bailey. Leslie Ann is an occupational therapist and an entrepreneur and a graduate of Howard University. Leslie Ann is also Caribbean American, Trinidadian. She's based in DC. And today we're also joined by another queen, and her name is Nina Babel, sitting in the Basia studios for the first time, even though she's not here live. She's in DC, right, Nina?
I am DC, based in Fort Lauderdale.
Based in Fort Lauderdale. Nina is a founder of NIBE Management Group. Her creative side is drone pilot, fashion, and portrait photography. And by day, Nina works as an IT project management consultant. So Nina is just another example of the ladies wearing multiple hats, really just bringing their brilliance to the Basia platform. And we welcome back our amazing sister, Leslie Ann Bailey. Ladies,
thank you. Yes.
Are you ready for today's topic?
Yes.
Are you ready to keep it real 100?
Let's get into it.
Keep it 100. And I'm just so honored that you all took time from your busy, multifaceted schedule. Even though some of you I have to pull you screaming and kicking, but you show up for me. I'm grateful. But before we get into it, I want to remind everyone that the Ask Basia podcast is streaming on Spotify and iTunes. And of course, the video version is available exclusively on the Basia platform, basiapowell.com, and YouTube at Basia Powell. Let's go. Okay, so I'm a huge advocate for parents encouraging their children, in particular young girls, that's my obvious bias, to build confidence from a very early age. I mean, I can't say exactly when I started to feel my confidence as a young woman, but I know that it was running real strong in my DNA. I'm going to ask you, ladies, and of course, I'm going to start with our newbie commentator. Nina, I'm going to start with you. Would you say that you always felt your confidence growing up as a young woman, and in particular, a woman of color? Did you always feel that confidence? And if not, when did you start to feel or get an understanding of what it means to be a confident young woman?
I believe that did start at a young age, and I'll tell you why. At the age of 8, I found my parents kept letters I used to write. And in the letter, I said what I was going to be, as far as making a living, and that I would buy my parents a home, each of them their own home. It's like whatever I set out to do, I had that vision from an 8-year-old. My best friend indicated at 13, I had a resume. So I was working, I had my little part-time jobs lined up.
Yeah.
Money in my account,
At 13,
At 13. $1,000.
I think I've met my match.
Yeah, at 13.
Wow. How about you, Leslie? I'm sorry. How about you, Leslie?
Well, mine came a little later. Growing up in the Caribbean, we were sheltered and taken care of. So I didn't really feel like I had to, display this confidence to be able to make it. But I tell you, as soon as I got to the United States, it was sink or swim. You had no choice. You just had to make it. So I just felt like, okay, I'm just going to, put my entire effort into whatever I do so that I can be successful. So I felt like that came when I arrived here.
So I want to go back to Nina on that point because
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying, Les, is that you felt that you came from a more you grew up rather in a
Mm-hmm.
more sheltered environment where you didn't feel a more laid back environment perhaps where
Way
you didn't
back.
feel the urgency to demonstrate that early drive to have a bank account like Nina did and so on. Nina, would you say it had something to do with you growing up in Canada, I believe?
Yeah, I mean, first gen, right? Parents, father's Trini, mom's guys, and mom always encourages you to have that stash, that Caribbean term stash,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and the value of saving money at an early age. Confidence, I believe, was more driven from my father. Um,
Mm.
like he's always been a stature in my life. So I think a lot of it in terms of how I am today, how I orient myself, comes from him just growing up
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So would
and
you
giving
say,
advice.
okay, I'm sorry. If I appear to be cutting you, Nina, I don't mean to. We just have a form of delay. So sometimes I think that you're finished talking. So we have a bit of a delay. It's technology. You would know that.
Right.
It
Yeah.
is.
So please feel free to continue if you were about to say.
No, I was done. I was just saying that a lot of it to
Mm-hmm.
me, of who I am today, I attribute to him. And then there's certain things that my mother instilled as far as the saving goes and the stash that I referred to. Um, just kind of practical everyday life skills, she was responsible for. But yeah, I think it's important that connection you have to your father. It's just my scenario. I think that connection between a father and daughter and that guidance is crucial to confidence. Um, it's crucial, at least for me, it was.
So I have to agree with you. I have to agree with what you're saying. And I would give examples later on, of course. But I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to point out, just for the benefit of our listeners and our viewers, that I find the word confidence is often misunderstood
Mm.
or defined differently because
Right.
you also talk not necessarily about your stash and your desire to save, because I don't see that as confidence. I see that as
Mm,
drive that comes
Mm-hmm.
from
Right.
confidence, right?
okay.
Right.
Yeah, I see that as drive that comes from confidence because whilst I, as a child growing up in the Caribbean, I did not start saving that early because quite frankly, I had nothing to save and nobody would give me a part-time job at 13. You know, that would have been unheard of. However, the
It's true.
drive, the desire
Right.
to know where I'm going and to want it with
Hmm.
all my might, I
Hmm.
I want to identify the difference between the drive and the confidence. So I always had a drive, but then sometimes you have that drive, but you're afraid to let the people in your immediate circle know that you have this desire to become this or to become that or to go get this and to
Mm-hmm.
go get that. Now, that's where, when you talk about the father element, the person that put that in you, that's what I agree with. So
Hmm.
if that confidence cannot meet that drive, then we can't turn that into excellence. You see
No,
True.
me?
you
You feel
can't.
me?
Yes. 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 I
You
Would
agree.
you
can't.
agree with me, Leslie?
Yes.
I agree. I agree 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
must have both.
you must have both.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you both, if it in fact happened, who was that person that you can recall from an early age if it happened at an early age? And I think Nina,
Mm-hmm.
you answered the question, but who
Hmm.
was it for you, Leslie? Can you recall anybody in particular?
Um, I would just think it would be many different people. It wasn't any
Mm-hmm.
one person in particular. And I just think because I was kind of raised by a village and
Yes.
just many people around who helped to support me. So I
Yeah.
wasn't in that nuclear family. I've always just really been part of an extended family,
Family.
and everybody played a role, no one particular person. So yes, and
Yes.
as I do agree that, you know, a father does play a very significant role in your life, and especially in the life of a young lady, to help to guide them and to help to boost their confidence. There are others who can step in and fill in the gap. And that
Correct.
was my situation. So
Yeah.
it was just, I've been blessed to just have very kind people, whether they be strangers even, or, professors,
Yeah.
or family that
Oh, family.
just encouraged me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly family. Family is crucial.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. And I think outside of, like, Nina attributes her early introduction to her self-confidence to her dad. But I also
Right.
feel that many of us would have gotten that from really just positive role modeling around us,
Absolutely.
especially in
Absolutely.
communities of color. You have people who never know their
Yes.
father or their mother,
Right.
and they become great because somebody came to talk at some association that they belonged to as a child, and it
Right.
sparked something in them. I remember how I
Yes.
felt the first time I saw a Les Brown video. I was 18 years old,
Okay.
working while I was going to university, because I did both, like my summer, and sometimes whatever day I had off, if I had 2 days off being a full-time student, I would work at an insurance company, which led me to accelerated, which helped me to ascend quickly in the corporate ladder back then. And I remember seeing Les Brown, and that was the moment and the video that my confidence needed to explode.
Okay.
And I went to Jamaica.
Right.
Yeah. So
Hey.
sometimes you need, sometimes you just need, you may not have parents who feel that, hey, I need to sit you down and have this talk. Because many of us had that, many of us didn't have that. And sometimes parents do that. And something, you still have people, children, young adults who doesn't really activate anything in them. I am someone who believe that you can sometimes be predisposed to an overload of self-confidence. Do you all think that that's possible? I believe it happened in my case.
So you think it could lead to almost like somebody being arrogant versus just confidence, kind of like teetering that line?
If it's not managed, properly, most certainly.
Yeah. I can
It-
understand
it's-
that for sure.
Yeah, but some people, I think it's all over their DNA. Sometimes you have to control it.
Oh, okay. But I feel
Because it can
in the field, in working with children, young children, I feel that so many of the children of color do not really display confidence, and I make it my duty to tell a little girl that they're beautiful, or I love your hair that's in cornrows or natural, or just I think you're so smart, you're wonderful. I do it with all children across the board, but I feel like there's that additional push that children who look like me benefit from. And just to see them light up when they, to hear you say these positive things to them.
Yes.
And just letting them know, I know you can do this. I know you can do this math assignment, or you can do this science assignment. Let's figure it out, problem solving skills, and helping them to work on these things. And all of that will boost their confidence. And for those who are not exactly driven, they get a talk as well. So it takes all of us to talk to them. Yeah. So we can't ignore, if there's no drive, we can't, also we just need to support. So I hear you, but we don't want it to get to the point where it's an overdrive and it's arrogance.
Right.
We'll have to check it.
So I have 2 questions based on what you just said.
Okay.
The first question, and I will tell you both because I'm a woman of a particular age, so I might forget them. So I'll tell you both, and then you can take your time. So my first, what I've heard you say is, a great part of instilling confidence in young people is that validation. Like letting them know that you see them, letting them know that. I had a conversation with some women recently, women of color, and I said, did anybody tell you at our age that Black is beautiful? Did they describe themselves as Black? And the answer to all was no. So I think we've established that self-confidence comes out of lifting one's self-esteem as well, right? And I also feel as though when we talk more about what Nina alluded to, and that's kind of like where I found my confidence, is in my drive. But I didn't find it because somebody sat with me and said, you know, you are beautiful, you know, and black is beautiful, and it's okay to be this, or it's okay to be that. I kind of had to navigate that as I went along. That's one. So I want to know what you both think about the fact that many of our young people, particularly in our culture, are not told enough, especially when you're a particular age. Back then, you know, you weren't told at all. And then my other thing is, did any of you receive pushback? Because Leslie Ann alluded to, can you become arrogant? Now, whenever a woman of a particular color is confident, sorry, and she's feeling herself and she's happy in her own skin, she can often be accused of being arrogant. When another woman with the same qualifications, same personality, but a lighter hue, will not be seen as arrogant. She will be seen as knowing, deserving to display such traits. Over to you, Nina, you first.
So I just want to understand the question a little better. So
The first
what
part
you're
of the
asking,
question is,
uh
you know, did you and do you think it's necessary to get that validation? Did you get it? Like somebody sat you down and said, hey, you are beautiful, like what Les reinforced with the students that she works with, and it makes a difference in their day. Like people saying, hey, oh, you know, you're a beautiful girl, you know, you're talented, you know, did you receive a lot of that? Because you grew up geographically, it was different for you. So maybe that had something to do with it. It wasn't very popular back in our day. Let's just put it that way.
no, it wasn't popular in our day. I mean, and especially as West Indian parents, they're so critical.
Little girls
Or
are
family
seen and not
members.
heard.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So, and I think that's where a lot of my insecurities started stemming. It's because of these things that would they point out, opposed to the positive things. Like now, you're supposed to, like Les alluded to earlier, you know, positively influence these children. And I think, you know, not to say it was all bad, but
No, we're
I
not
think it
saying
could have been
that.
scripted different. It could have been scripted. It might have been more disciplinarian opposed to positive.
Yeah, yeah. So
Or
what
let's say if
about,
you scored that A, you know, that grade,
and that grade had
then
nothing to
it's
do with your
you're all good.
self-esteem. Yeah, but it has nothing to do with your self-esteem. So we ended up with a lot of quote unquote bright girls
True.
who didn't even know that they were valuable. So they ended up in messy relationships because the first person that showed some sort of affection was, okay, well, I never felt this from anybody before. So I'm gonna go there with my A self and get some F treatment.
That is unfortunate, but
Yeah.
it's played out too many times. Honestly, it has.
So, but the
But
other part of my go ahead, Les, because I think you wanted
so no,
to.
but in terms of the validation, I feel like yes, for us growing up, it was a lot different. But I feel now that there's so many more positive images, so many more people that look like us that we can relate to that are presenting, you know, in a very positive light for the, you know, for the younger generation and that they can look up to. So I think having that role model doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in your home anymore or a family member or, you know, as you say, a teacher, but it can be even maybe somebody who is, you know, in the limelight, somebody who is a star, who takes the time to really instill that in you. But I think it for me, it was definitely more impactful being someone who I can relate to or someone who actually knew me or can speak to me.
Yeah.
That's why I said I just, you know, I could appreciate that validation and it's important across the ages.
Well, I want to caution parents out there that, you know, whilst it happened for us, I don't think it's right to rely on celebrities and public figures to have a positive impact on our children as it relates to their self-esteem and their self-confidence and so on. Yes, it's nice to know that, but it's something that should be handled in the home, you know,
Yeah,
because
I agree.
you know, when it
I
happens by
agree.
default, You just never know what end result you can get when you're relying on the streets
Yeah.
to give
All you need to do
your
is plant
child.
the
Not the
seed.
streets.
No,
Not
no,
the
no. I call it
streets.
the streets.
Yeah.
Okay, on a drive-by then. Like on a drive-by, or on the Kardashians, or anything
No,
streaming, or anything
mhm,
streaming, to
mhm,
give your
mhm.
child a sense, a dose, because that's what happened in our time.
That's
So to give your child a
okay.
sense of a cup of self-esteem or self-confidence or boost or whatever you want to call it. Because I remember, I'll give you an example, and I'm not making fun of you by any means, because this actually happened with me. I remember my aunt and my uncle, they would subscribe to Ebony magazine for me, which from an early age made me know that I was going to grow up one day and have my own magazine. Because all I ever saw on Ebony magazine was just people of color shining and looking splendid and fabulous. And that was my idea of success from a very early age, that same age that Nina described. And before age 12, I'm seeing Michael Jackson and Diana Ross and Whitney Houston and all these people grace the cover. And I would wait on the postman to drop this magazine. And I was the first one to open it. And I would read it from cover to cover. And so by the time it was time for me to have a magazine, that was already buried in my head. I wanted to see people of color. I wanted to showcase the fabulous lives that they had, because I know the impact it had on me, that I knew that it was possible. So thank you
Yes.
to the publishers of Ebony magazine, because that certainly had a major impact. And later on, Essence, of course, it had an impact on me. So to your point, the streets, I'm saying don't only rely on the streets, because the streets is Ebony
No.
magazine as
Of
well.
course
You know
not.
what I mean?
Exactly.
But I want to come back to I want to talk about the pushback, because if we're keeping it real, because on this platform we have authentic discussions, real stories with real women. I have to say that as a young Black girl, I received significant pushback when I started to display loads of confidence at an early age, which was the second part of my question. I don't know if any of you had that same experience. Nina, I think we might have lost
Pushback,
Nina.
like from
Okay.
friends, family. No, I'm
I
here.
don't want to identify your
Um,
pushback, your community.
Pushback. No, I don't feel so, because if it was jealousy because of what I was doing. Pushback to say anybody telling me not to do it or stop, like not to do it or stop doing it or do less of it. No, I always find that even to this day, I surround myself with a community of people that support whatever I'm doing. And if I ask for their guidance or advice, they don't take a selfish role or
Yeah.
response to that. So, and I
Yeah.
mean, the latest example of that is just me moving to Florida a year and a half ago, me asking my friends, what should I do? Everyone told me to go. When I was in doubt,
Nice.
everybody told me to go.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything right now that stands out. And that
Yeah.
leads me to think it's because I purposely surround myself with positive friends.
And good for you, as you should. You shouldn't
Yes.
surround yourself with people who can't encourage you to be better, or they are threatened by the fact that your light might be shining a lot more than theirs at a particular time. It's your light, and that's what God made you to do, to shine. Your light. Well, how about you, Leslie?
And it always,
Also,
and yeah,
go ahead, Nina.
sorry.
No, we're
No,
just
I was
delaying
saying,
Nina.
like, yeah, the negative part of that is, like, I've lived in that bubble and a bubble of friends. And it wasn't until I moved to the US, which I understood what maybe jealousy was or negative people were. Because now that you have me thinking and retrospecting, I do remember when I moved to the US and just experiencing that, and I didn't understand those dynamics of how
So
people
just to be
could treat
clear,
people.
you didn't experience this in Canada growing up in Canada.
No, because you have that bubble. You see your parents. They all immigrated at the same time. They all had children. You hung out with your cousins or those family friends and their children. So there's this bubble of understanding, of culture. And it's not until I moved to the US that this American culture where it was like, whoa, this is not how I grew up. There are evil people out there who are out
Yeah.
to get you because of the light that you shine.
Yeah.
So it was then where I tried to, did I pull back? No, I just kind of understood how to navigate myself better and who I surrounded myself with. And
Yeah.
once I realized who those
I
people
feel
were, then
you.
fine.
I feel you. I had a similar experience myself, but not only in the US, in the Caribbean as well. What about you,
Okay.
Leslie?
So I did experience some pushback, and in terms of when I applied for a professional program, I was told that I wouldn't make the grade, I wouldn't make the cut, I wouldn't be successful.
Mm-hmm.
That, that's, it's actually, sometimes it works in your favor to hear these things.
Yes. Yeah,
And
sometimes.
I was like,
Right.
well, I'll just have to prove you wrong. And I did. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, not everyone will be supportive. You would get pushback if you demonstrate that you are confident in your skills, or just in whatever you desire to do in life. And not everybody's going to be supportive, but it could
No. So
definitely
you
help
have to
to.
know who to listen to, correct?
Yeah, you absolutely do. So in the
Mm,
end, this
mhm.
the very person that was not exactly kind to me with those words ended up respecting me. Yeah, and and reaching out to me, in my professional life for for support.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
That's what we do. But
Yeah.
yeah,
so really you just have to choose your circle, your village
yeah.
carefully,
Yes,
because you
yes,
can, just like how you can fall in and out of love, you can certainly fall in and out of confidence based on where
yes,
you find
absolutely.
yourself in a particular, at a particular time in life, who you're surrounded
Yeah.
True.
by, what you're going
Mm-hmm.
through, and so on. But I think if the foundation is there, and talking
Mm-hmm.
about the foundation, today I was looking at some statistics from Harvard Review, and I think this may have been as far back as 2012, where they seem to imply that people who have low self confidence are likely to be more successful. And I don't necessarily agree with Harvard Review, and all respect, enough, I
No.
mean, enough respect to
Low
Harvard,
self
but I
confidence.
just can't see that. Now, this is why I think that this word
Okay.
confidence has to be dissected and properly
Yes.
defined, and we probably need a paper on it, because I don't think because you are successful with your grades, it means that you're a successful person. Because I know people who have never gotten beyond a C grade in their life, who
Mm-hmm.
are very successful at what they do, and
Mm-hmm.
and feel extremely confident about themselves. So I think Harvard should have broadened their research outside of their compound, because that is not necessarily my experience with
Right.
success. You are
Right.
successful
Yeah.
as you feel as well. Brilliance doesn't always
Yeah.
translate into a positive self-esteem.
Grades.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
have people who are really badass, pardon my expression, at statistics, and they can crunch any number, but they can't muster the courage to address an audience, and
Right.
because of how they feel about themselves,
Hmm.
they'll hand the paper to somebody
Mm-hmm.
else to deliver the message. So they're bright and they
Mm-hmm.
passed the exams and they have a degree, but it don't mean that they feel confident in who they are. You feel me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
But one of
Hmm.
the other things I wanted to ask you, ladies, you know, um, do you think that you would have gotten ahead in your career? Picking up
Hmm.
from what Harvard suggests, and I don't know if they've had a more recent study, because studies come and studies go, but would you have
Right.
gotten ahead and to be where you are in your careers if you did not have sufficient, self-confidence to push yourself, especially at times like
Mm-hmm.
what you alluded to, Leslie Ann, when somebody told
Mm-hmm.
you, hey, you wouldn't make it in this program. I remember a
Mm-hmm.
teacher telling
Mm-hmm.
me at A levels, my econ teacher,
Mm-hmm.
Miss John, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
miss the boat. And I sat there because of the DNA I was born with, the one that they make
Right.
typically call arrogance. And I said to myself, lady, I'm going to buy several books. I
There
didn't
you go.
answer her. And I
Mm-hmm.
can. I didn't answer her. But how do you tell a young person at that time in their life that
Yeah.
they're going to miss the
Yeah.
boat or whatever? instead of doing the reverse of what you did with your students, saying, hey, you guys can do it. Maybe you need to buckle down a little bit. But this sort of negative reinforcement that we have become accustomed to, thinking that we're producing the best in human beings, sometimes we're really just tearing them apart. So do you think you would have been successful if you didn't have the confidence? And my last question, because it's almost time for us to wrap up, is that do you think that our education system, bringing back to schools, should have a mandatory class in confidence and grooming? After all, they did teach us home economics and you had to go and cook and stuff. Why do girls have to go and do a cookery class and so on? When they could have taught us grooming and self-confidence and posture, and those things would really prepare us for the world out there. Interviews. I am looking forward to seeing these types of curriculum in the school system, because young women, if we were to get this earlier, like by 12, I would have been Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris, Oprah Winfrey, everybody in one.
I hear you. Yeah.
So what do you think, Leslie? Do you think that, one, we need this in the school system? I mean, you as an occupational therapist should know better. And are you where you are? But do you feel that your confidence had a lot to do with your particular success in your field?
Yeah, it can be damaging when a professor tells you you're not going to be able to be successful. And, I ignored it. So for me, I absolutely believe that my confidence helped me to push through and to persevere. Now, should we have grooming classes, these types of things in the school system? As much as I believe that they're helpful, I think it should be like a wraparound service that could be offered, because the school day is as busy as it is in terms of academics. To add additional social emotional support is important, and to train and to help groom confident young people is absolutely important as well. But I think that needs a broader platform, not just a classroom, a platform that could include people from many walks of life and from many different professions outside of a teacher, that could actually show the children, show these students that it's possible. And
I respectfully disagree with you. I think
let me tell you why I say that.
Hardcore.
There's a program that I worked with for many, many years that believed, the theory was, you're going to start going to college from the 8th grade. And these were for students in particular who nobody in their family ever went to college in this day and age in America. And my student, I had her from 8th grade until she graduated. And this particular program had supports with academics, as well as introducing the students to public speaking, to being ambassadors for the group, travel. We took them to Ghana, took them to Amsterdam. The students had to get up and speak, make presentations. They would go to grooming-based classes. For example, there's a particular organization that would have them over and teach them proper etiquette. So all of this can be done. It just can't be done in the school day. And then
maybe we can do it like summer classes, so students have access to this kind of thing. Because I think it's extremely important. You send a lot of so-called bright students out there with certificates, and they don't even know how to sit upright. They don't know how to use a knife and fork or several courses of cutlery. That's not fair to them, because nobody prepared them, and they're not necessarily from homes where the butler brings and lays the table to the nines, and kind of thing. So
I hear you.
Respectfully disagree. Black women can disagree and not be angry.
Yeah, absolutely. If you see the core curriculum, you'd understand where I'm coming from. It's jam-packed. I'm not sure. They'll have to extend the school day for that.
Yeah, I feel that. And that's why.
But is it important? Absolutely.
It's important. Let's do it for summer. Do it as summer classes. I don't think it takes the entire year for them to learn something like that.
No,
Nina, how you
of course
feel?
not.
Yeah, how you feel about that?
I think it's a good elective to take, because I remember when I had to sit down at a business dinner meeting, and knowing what fork to take. Thankfully, I ate out a lot with my parents at restaurants, so I knew to choose from the outside in. But a lot of people, I've had to teach people
learn on the fly
to do that.
Yeah,
like don't grab that spoon, or they just didn't know, and without embarrassing them, right?
But of course, because it's not their fault.
No,
somebody has to teach you something, and it's not their fault,
right? And I think it's just one of those rituals of life that not everybody has access to, especially if you come from a lower income family. You're not going to be necessarily eating out at restaurants, knowing what fork and spoon to
And I,
the soup or how to
that's
even
right.
use the spoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it
And then
sets
going
up.
back to your point earlier,
No, go ahead.
no, you go
Sorry.
ahead.
Delay. No, that delay. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to address your first question about just, it brought me back to a place where I was in high school, and Les mentioned her professor who basically led her down the wrong path. And I had the same, not the same intention. It was more out of protection, but I still felt it was bad advice to give. When I wanted to be an interior decorator, this professor told me, well, by the time you grow up, computers are going to be ruling everything. So it's not a good idea to be an interior decorator. So I was devastated, actually. And then similarly, Caribbean parent, well, not my mom. She was like, do whatever you want. But wanted to be a makeup artist, take a year off from high school. And this is the days when we didn't have YouTube. So Nina wanted to be a makeup artist. And dad was like, absolutely not. And, I was going to be defiant and still, because Mac is what grew out of Toronto at the time. And I wanted to take a Mac course. And part of me, and this is just how I am, like, even though you say no, I'm still going to do it, just like how Les. And that was my drive.
So that's the built-in
And I'll
confidence
prove you
I'm
wrong.
talking about. Yeah, that's
That's
the
right.
DNA. I call it the DNA confidence.
Yeah.
That I
That's
thank God that I
innate.
had it.
Yeah,
It's innate. I
It's
thank
innate,
God that I
Basia.
had
I'm
it,
not really sure.
especially as a young
me
Black
too.
woman.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, a lot of things flew over my head because I was living in a bubble.
Right.
All right. You feel me? And if those things had landed on me, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be able to live in several countries and run my own business. And I just would not have been that person if I allowed those things to stick. When they tried to land on me, I was in a bubble floating. From a very young age, I realized that I had
It's
to
very key.
inject myself with that, because then
Yeah.
this would not have been the end result. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally understood.
Exactly.
But as I remember, we were talking about it, confidence being innate, and
Yes.
learning can also be something that, so for example, if you don't particularly know something, as Nina gave the example of how to eat, how to choose your utensils appropriately. I didn't necessarily know that, but I looked. And I, just a matter of just kind of doing, observing.
Because
so you can kind of
knew
figure
where
it
you
out.
wanted to be. You knew where you wanted to be, and
No,
you
but
know
if
you
you
have to
are,
go get
if
the
you're already
information.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're already at the table and you're looking and you're in that situation, right? I mean, but luckily, as you said, kids have YouTube now, and there's so much that they can actually learn. So that can help them to be able to be as confident as possible.
Again, we're operating under the assumption that a lot of kids have access to internet at home. And I mean, this pandemic showed us a lot.
That's true.
That's not entirely so. We're living in a bubble. Yeah. So not every kid. But I just want to remind our viewers and listeners to follow me, and the others would talk. I mean, I know Leslie's not very social. So Nina and I are social, and I'm Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube at Basia Powell. Follow your girl. I keep it popping every time. Where you at? Where you at?
Where you at?
Give us your handle. Give us your social handle. And it's going to be in the article associated with this particular podcast.
Sure. My Insta is NIB as in boy, A as in alpha photos. That's Niba Photos. And my handle on Facebook is Niba Photography. And my Twitter handle is Nina, Nina, Babel, Babel.
And I just want to tell everybody that Nina, despite her multifaceted career, because she did take her dad's advice actually, and she's an IT professional, but she's also such a boss photographer, and she does drone photography. She's a badass, and her photography is amazing for fashion, portraits, whatever it is. Follow her on Instagram, and she'll get you sorted. Yeah. Anyways,
if you have any photography needs.
Yeah, well, they're going to see all that in the post, right? So, guys, thank you for tuning in today. And I want to thank these amazing queens for joining me. I look forward to just having this authentic discussion. I mean, I can go on for hours. We are already beyond the time allotted to us, but I still want to say thank you for joining me. The reason we created this podcast is to do just this, for women to lift each other up and for women to support women. The struggle is real. We see what we're facing as a community. And it's one thing for your community to be under attack, but it's another thing for you to be attacking each other in the community. Time is better spent lifting each other up. If you see a woman struggling, lift her up. If you see her flourishing, let her go. Let her fly. It's her time. God he never said it that he wasn't coming back to organize you. His blessings are unlimited. Let's support each other. Let's continue to, be careful what we say about other women, because it takes one to know one. You feel me? That's right.
I feel you.
Yeah. So be careful what we say about other women.
We feel you.
We'll get there quicker together than alone.
Amen.
It's your girl, Basia. I was joined today by Nina Babel and Leslie and Bailey, and I'm sure they're going to be back. And I can't wait to see you guys next week. Thank you for joining me. I had a blast.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.